Well, you all know that I love pet sitting, but just so you know that I'm not delusional, I wanted to let you know some of the parts of the job that I'm not that fond of. There are some aspects of this job that you should be aware of, and it's not all cute puppies and cuddly kittens. And one of those things we just finished with, I think. I think we're pretty much done with the cold weather. It's not too bad here because I'm in California, but my advice is to get a good pair of waterproof boots, some warm socks, and some good gloves. Not mittens, some good heavy-duty gloves. Waterproof, if you can do it. Good grippy gloves, so when you're walking dogs, they don't just slip out. Then, of course, there's hot weather. And the hot weather is about to start here in San Bernardino. It gets up to about 110, and it'll stay like that for a few days. I have a policy that I don't walk dogs in weather over 90 degrees. Potty walks, yes. Exercise walks, no. Exercise walks can be done during the cooler hours, but still you're driving around in the heat, and my advice is to get a good pair of sunglasses and some sunblock. Then there's rain, which is not so bad in the summer, but in the winter it kind of sucks. It's not a dog walker's friend. My advice for this is to get a good raincoat with a hood and pair it with a baseball cap. And then waterproof boots, because you will step in a big puddle when you're watching the dog and not where you're walking, and then you will have water in your shoes. Then there's the dark. You work in. So if you're afraid of the dark, this is probably not the job for you. Especially in the winter when the sun doesn't come up until 7 a.m. and it's dark at 4 p.m. You're working in the dark a lot. And my advice for this is to get a headlamp and some reflective clothing and just get over the fact that it's dark. I have never been attacked, which is really very fortunate. I've not run into any problems just because it was dark. I have the same problems I have when it's light. There's the people and other animals and whatever. All the dangers that are there during the day are also there at night. Maybe you can't see them as well. So a headlamp is a really good thing, like a runner's headlamp, like you see the runners using, and it's fine. And then there's early mornings. If my first job is at 6 a.m., I have slept in. And it's not uncommon to start at 4 a.m. And then that's after I've had a late night. The really excellent pet sitters won't want their pets left more than 8 hours, which means that you're going to have like a 5 a.m. and a 2 p.m. and an 11 p.m., for example, which leaves about 6 hours for sleep minus your drive time. And that's another reason to keep your service area really small, because if you spend an hour driving both ways, that cuts your available sleep time down to about 4 hours, which is a lot of fun. And you drive all the time. So if you don't like driving, not the job for you. Truthfully, this is your job. You drive for a living. It takes a tremendous amount of patience. You see all sorts of things on the streets, awful things, awful people, stray animals, roadkill. You get cut off, bad drivers nearly kill you. Your insurance premiums go through the roof because you're putting 1,000 miles on your car every week. And this is a big reason to keep the area you serve small. If there's 50 miles between client A and client B, you'd better bet you're going to run into times when you're going to have to do that 3 times in a day. So my advice is to learn to listen to audiobooks. You'll learn something, and the time will pass by much more quickly. Another issue that sometimes you have are bugs. Ants will get into the pet's food if it's left outside. Flies are attracted to dog poop that's left on the ground, and, well, that's kind of gross. And if people leave their doors and windows open, then it gets in the house. And some pet owners don't treat their pets for fleas, which I don't advise, but some people don't think their animals get fleas. So sometimes you have to deal with bugs. So then, if you got a bug phobia, this may not be it, or carry bug spray with you everywhere. I don't know. I haven't run into it too much. The main thing I've run into is maybe some ants in the food, in which case you spray the area around the food, and then the ants will leave and they won't keep coming into the bag. And then they'll scatter when you scoop it out. So if it's just full, you may have to buy some food. There have been times I've had to buy food for the pets I'm taking care of just because their food was so compromised that it wasn't able to be used. But the main thing you're going to run into are fleas. Not many pet owners let their animals get covered in ticks. I haven't run into a lot of that, but you'll run into a lot of fleas. And you can take them home with you. So you may want to figure out some way to spray your car with the flea spray or, something like that. So, bugs. And then there's the people who forget to pay you. And that sucks, And then there's stepping in it. Occasionally because you're working in the dark or people didn't pick up after their pets or other dog walkers just left it there, you'll step in it and it's gross. And the best tools I found is a stick and grass. So you scrape it out of your shoe with the stick and then you rub your shoe in the grass for like a minute. And then when you get back to the car, you sanitize your shoe, or when you get home, you sanitize your shoes and finish up like that. But the grass and the stick will get most of it out. But yeah, it in general is just sort of, they all do it and you're going to have to clean it up. And the pet owners want to know if they did it and what it looked like. So you not only have to deal with it, you have to get comfortable with talking about it. My advice is stay away from the dollar store and invest in some really great poo bags. Bags on Board makes some pretty good ones. You want them to be good and thick and big enough to pick up big dog poo. So it's just the reality of it. And then, to go along with that, sometimes in this job you feel like a janitor. Some people don't clean, and sometimes it smells, and sometimes there are roaches and spiders. And even if the house is clean, if you're going to offer overnight services, you're probably going to have to clean some. So if you hate to clean, you might try to start liking it because you're going to have to do it. So along with that are the germs. What can I say? If you're an extreme germaphobe, this may not be the job for you, or maybe you just really like to clean and you can just eliminate all the germs. So then you're good. So, and then there's the dog or the cat that wants to kill you. And you get these occasionally. You'll usually find out that at the interview. And ask the pet owner what they suggest for, how you can do the job safely. And if they have no suggestions, you probably don't want to do that job. Because if they don't know how to control their animal or how to feed them without getting your arm bitten off or whatever, how are you supposed to do that? So maybe that's just not the job that you want to take. Maybe they need to board that animal in a traditional kennel. And then there's a fine line between reporting abuse and neglect and being able to educate the pet owner. Most of the cases most cases of where there's a problem have to do with neglect. There's matted hair or overgrown nails or fleas, and sometimes all it really takes is pointing those things out to the pet owner and letting them know how the pet is hurting. Most pet owners will respond. If they don't, you have to consider whether the pet is hurting enough to warrant calling the authorities, and then the authorities might take the pet and euthanize it. And there's consequences no matter what you choose to do, and you have to be able to live with that. So you have to be able to make those decisions and live with whatever you choose. So this is not a job for the physically weak or the faint of heart. Pets die eventually, and it breaks your heart. And if you do this long enough, you're going to lose a lot of pets that you really care about, and they're going to die. And your heart's going to be broken, but you can't just... It's not like when your pet dies and you can live in that for a little while. You can't, because you might lose 3 in a week. And it might seem a little cold-hearted, but you have to protect yourself. There has to be a little bit of a barrier there. But it'll hurt. And a lot happens between now and when those pets die. So, you have to be able to enjoy the process, even though this can be a dirty job, and there can be some aspects of it that are not a lot of fun. But you have to learn to enjoy it and treat the pets really well, because someday they won't be here. So you'll have to live with that too. You'll have to live with whatever it is you did while they were here, whether that was good or just mediocre, and you want to take really good care of them. So, all right, I'll see you later.